Personal Development, Health and Physical Education, which is known as the PDHPE. Programs should be focused on encouraging students to make informed decisions related to health and physical activity and develop positive attitudes towards a healthy lifestyle. The aim of the PDHPE is to provide students with a strong foundation in developing resilience and taking responsibility for their own health and safety and well-being. It is a valuable curriculum area in school because it enhances cognitive, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual development of students. PDHPE plays a key role in promoting physical activity and developing competency in movement skills. PE teachings provide students with all levels of skills to participate in the curriculum. As children grow older and develop, they tend to become increasingly aware of the importance of living a healthy lifestyle. Thus, this curriculum area enables children to make a healthy lifestyle choices that will eventually help them to experience positive relationships and improve quality of life. It also improves students' mental health as well. Curry 2012 mentions that GSA release of the pressures of teaching skills and techniques in PE lessons enables students to learn knowledge and skills through playing games. Looking at the NASA, the main objective of the PDHP subject includes understanding strategies to foster personal identity, resilience, and respectful relationships. Understand the importance of contextual factors that influence health, safety, well-being, and participation in physical activity, enact and strengthen health, safety, well-being, and participation in physical activities. Looking at the GSA, game sense approach is a common approach used in schools whereby game rules are modified. This approach is student-centered, inquiry-based approach which enables students to develop their own skills and understanding while being actively involved in the game. The game sense approach is not like the traditional approach, where students need to master it before playing, as mentioned by Curry 2012. Miller-Edgar 2016 has explained that GSA is based on game understanding and decision-making, which can stimulate students' psychological changes as well as developing their decision-making and understanding skills. Each and every learning activity takes place in the authentic context of modified games or game-like activities in order to develop understanding, decision-making, and skills that can be applied in the context of a game environment. I believe it is a good form of teaching approach since game sense has many strengths as a PE pedagogical strategy. A major strength of game sense is that it uses a holistic approach to teaching PE classes. Games are able to be modified and adapted to involve all students, which encourages a positive and inclusive sporting environment. It also engages students in minor and modified game strategies and concepts where there are opportunities to develop both skills and understanding of the tactics of the game. It also encourages simple modification, which is easier or harder to accommodate varying ability levels and therefore maximizes inclusion and challenge. It also modifies game rules, the playing area or the equipment for the purpose of highlighting aspects of the game, such as attackers sending a ball beyond the reach of opponents. It also promotes the development of thinking players. Game sense approach is linked to the PDHP syllabus outcome, which are PD2-10, PD2-11, and PD5-11. Now we'll be looking at the reflections, the 4 reflections on our tutorial. I will be referring about the tutorials 2, 3, 4, and 6, which I found very effective. Although all the tutorials were a great support in developing our skills and knowledge in PE lessons, the first reflection is on PE for Week 4 tutorial. Week 4 talks about game sense approach and how we apply it in PE teaching. This tutorial had discussed history of game sense approach, how to implement and develop game sense approach in teaching in lessons, and how it can promote a quality teaching standards using the game sense approach. We have discussed various activities and approaches which we can use in the GSA approach and how we implement these activities in the class. The tutorial was highly effective since it taught us as pre-service teachers on how to implement good decision making. PDHPE K10 syllabus states that participants in various activities in diverse contexts can improve students' overall health and well-being. Students' movement skills and collaboration skills both develop in PE lessons. It helps build up students' self-esteem and motivates them to choose a healthier lifestyle. Pre-service teachers should understand the New South Wales quality teaching model, which promotes quality learning environment, intellectual quality and significance. It is certainly true that GSA is a research and evidence-based information. The tutorials based on game sense had broadened my knowledge and understanding on the approach. The tutorial and lectures enlightened my outlook on how the PE lessons needed to be taught and collaborated to provide the best outcome. Prior to taking up this unit, I was unaware that such pedagogies and approaches can be taught in the PE lessons. Thus, I have developed my understanding and highly recommend the use of game sense approach in PE lessons to bring out the best in your students' life. We also looked in the nature of game sense approach and how this helps students' interactions and knowledge development. We also had watched videos which enable us to understand how we use this approach in our future lesson, and later we discussed as a group and reflected on how we will use this approach, and it helped me understand and reflect on my own skills. The Week 2 tutorial was based on the learning curriculum in the PDHPE. We learned about the knowledge, understanding values, and attitudes which were and are the skills embedded in the PDHP curriculum. We did group works and learned about cross-curriculum priorities and general capabilities in schools. We learned about Aboriginal and Torres Islander histories and cultures, Asian and Australian engagement, and sustainability. Group discussions were also done and it enabled better understanding of what all these links with the PDHPE syllabus. The tutorial and the topic encouraged the importance of empathy and inclusivity. From my understanding of the tutorial, it enabled me to understand the importance of inclusive learning and fairness to be given to all types of students in PE lessons. There is no right or wrong, and everyone deserves a fair go. So a meaningful learning experience can be created for the students. As teachers, we need to ensure to meet the needs of the students and achieve the broad learning outcomes defined in the NASA Statement of Equity Principles. The next tutorial we will be looking is based on Week 5 tutorial, where we learn about 3 different forms of assessment, which included assessment for learning, which are formative, assessment as learning, which is ongoing, centered, and assessments of learning, which is summative assessments. We learned the importance of assessments and why assessments were essential part of the curriculum. We also learned why they are used in the lessons, strategies of assessments, and the types of assessments. This tutorial enabled me to understand different forms of assessment, but also how to apply this in my learning practice and teaching my students as a pre-service teacher. It enabled me to understand how to incorporate assessments and relate it to the specific content and outcome of the syllabus. This tutorial also enabled me to understand how to develop marking criteria for assessments which are linked to the Standards 5.1.1 of the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers. The last tutorial that we'll be discussing is Week 6 tutorial, which was where we discussed more about the physical education. First, we refreshed on the game sense approach, and then we discussed about the different forms of games, such as invasion game, net and court games, etc. Then we had videos which we had viewed and discussed the characters and how they portray game sense activity in each game. We then created a lesson plan, discussed the change it. Later we discussed in groups how to create an effective learning environment in groups, the importance of culturally diverse games was discussed and its importance to include in the curriculum. From my perspective, I believe all these ways of teaching and learning is important for an explicit understanding and creating an informative learning environment. Incorporating Aboriginal Torres Islander games is important as it's culturally inclusive and teach everyone the importance of a different style of game. I believe culturally inclusive games is a form of respecting and learning diverse cultures and bringing out a better understanding of our natives. It also brings about an enriching understanding of Australian history and it broadens our knowledge. Typically, when it comes to well-being, people say they will develop positive classrooms, but they lack the strategies to do this. This activity is to highlight how teachers typically plan great content lessons, but need to explicitly plan how they will help students connect, succeed, and thrive as well. We as teachers need to have a vast teaching strategies to plan lessons, so it gives students informed learning, but also creates a fun and cultural inclusive environment. Lastly, I believe PDHP is a very important subject that should be taught in schools and taken seriously. Other subjects do give benefits, but implementing PE lessons in schools can be used to improve health in students and benefit students in a long run. If taken seriously, the overall unit gave me an opportunity to understand why teaching PDHPE is an important learning subject in school, and it gave me a positive feedback. That way it is taught to students needs to be approached well. The unit enhanced my understanding for the importance of the PDHPE in school and the fundamental values it adds to the teaching. The tutorials provided me in the unit had multiple examples of how to teach the lesson for the PDHPE. It provided me the ability to understand gender-biased approach and it also enabled me to understand the gender-biased approach which does not work well in the lessons. Focusing on students' ability is important part in providing learning. We had done multiple group activities in the tutorials and it enabled me to understand that group activity helps students work together and find solutions to problems as well as share diverse perspectives. Group projects can also help students develop skills specific to collaborative efforts as well as improve social skills, including cooperation and conflict resolution. The most important factor I learned is that incorporating Aboriginal and Torres Islander games is vital in developing better understanding of Australian history and culture. Now I have a totally different outlook to the lessons for the PDHPE and how it should be taught and the importance it should be given by the educators. If the subject is not approached well, it can cause a lot of misconception about the subject and the importance. After participating in the PDHP lesson, I have developed a better understanding of the lesson and its importance. Personally, I did not have a very good PE mentors at school, and the girls who were stronger and taller were always given a chance of sports. There was a lack of encouragement. But after doing this unit, my outlook for the subject has changed, and I wish I had better teachers who would have supported me in my PE lessons. So I would have done better in my PE lessons, but it's never too late. I understand encouraging students as pre-service teachers, I can help students with the lesson to become better in life and improve their health. Thank you.